Welcome back to class with Mr. DeSantis. So we're going to go over some propaganda today that was used during the American Revolution. It's where America told ourselves a lie and we believed it. We're going to do that by going over a picture analysis of the Boston Massacre that Paul Revere did. So before we get started, let's start off with a vocab word. Your vocab: propaganda, ideas or information spread to harm or help a cause. Alright, so now that we know what propaganda is, let's take a look at the assignment. We're going to jump into picture analysis. Go ahead, sign in, ask for your name and what class that you are in. I'll give you a moment to go do that. Alright, welcome back. Now you are going to go to the Boston Massacre. Before we really get into this, what I want you to do is to just casually take a look at this picture. Tell me what you see compared to what the top says. I'm going to break it down in the next part. Alright, the Boston Massacre. Here is the picture. Scope it out, get a good look at it. What do you see? What draws your eye? And then, what are the first three things that you see in this picture? Let me put it back up on the screen. Alright. What color stands out the most? Take a look at it again. Alright, and then tell me what is happening. What do you see in this picture? What is the action that it is showing you? Okay. Once you've got that done, you're going to submit it, and then that will allow you to continue on to the real Boston Massacre. Now, if you haven't finished that first section yet, pause this right now, go finish it, and come back.
A few moments later.
It's going to make this a whole lot easier if you don't know what I'm talking about yet to finish that top part. So, the real Boston Massacre. I want to ask you to look at specific things now, and then I'm going to draw your attention to the purpose behind this picture. Let's start off with the person that makes this picture. His name is Paul Revere, and he was a patriot through and through. This picture was made to send to the other colonies to let them know what was happening in Boston. Remember that they did not have cameras at this time. So before we move on to the analysis of the picture, let's watch something that is just like this happen in current times. Here's a protest that was going on in Washington, D.C. You may remember this from the news. I'm so People were up in arms about that video. However, that didn't exactly address anything. It's all one piece of the story. This is an actual news story.
Dozens of schools in this area, including this one, have just closed due to the cold weather, but this all comes amid a firestorm. Many people here saying that these videos should be a lesson in not rushing to judgment. The viral encounter has thrust this Kentucky community into a politically charged debate that has police here on high alert.
This morning, classes are canceled at Covington Catholic High. Students were scheduled to return today for the first time since some of them found themselves at the center of a viral video that sparked intense anger online. and that authorities now say led to threats against the teens and the school in Kentucky. This clip showing student Nick Sandman face-to-face with Native American veteran Nathan Phillips quickly exploding across social media over the weekend. Many of the students in D.C. for the March for Life wearing Make America Great Again gear. Some are seen making racist gestures, others jumping around and chanting. A new email from their principal to parents obtained by NBC affiliate WLWT says the incident is being fully investigated by an independent third-party investigator. The school and local diocese had previously condemned the kids' actions and said they were looking at possible expulsion. But defenders of the students say there was a rush to judgment, a fuller picture later coming into view when more videos emerged. A student whose parents did not want his face shown says they were using their school chants to drown out insults from men identified as Hebrew Israelites.
This is a bunch of future school shooters, a bunch of babies made out of insects. Right, trailer park babies.
One of those men says it all started when the students mocked them. The chants continuing when Phillips entered the picture.
There was 3 Native American people there. One of them was jumping up and down, so our guys start jumping up and down, clapping, we're dancing with him. Like, I just don't see how they were just going along with what they thought was fun.
Nick Sandman, the student who appears to smirk while standing in front of Phillips, blasted what he called outright lies in a statement, writing in part, "I believe that by remaining motionless and calm, I was helping to defuse the situation. It was clear to me that he had singled me out for a confrontation, although I'm not sure why." Adding, a chaperone gave them permission to perform the school chants. Phillips's account has been interpreted differently. On Saturday, he told the Washington Post he felt threatened by the teens and that they swarmed around him. When he tried to leave, the guy in the hat wouldn't let him retreat. But he's also told the Detroit Free Press that he decided to intervene between the students and the other group, calling it the moment he put himself between beast and prey. He now says Sandman should have accepted responsibility for his actions and should face consequences.
Instead of being expelled, that the students should go through some kind of sensitivity training, that they should cultural education of some kind, and if they don't, then don't graduate.
President Trump weighing in on the controversy overnight, tweeting the students were treated unfairly, with early judgments proving out to be false, smeared by media. Meanwhile, at the nearby diocese later this morning, the American Indian movement plans to hold what it calls a peaceful vigil to confront racism.
All right, so now that we have that little bit of extra information, we need to move on to the final part of this picture analysis. So, you got a partial side of the story being shown here. Not everything that happened like this. Doesn't matter, still going to get people amped up, and people don't care to find out the truth when this is what they're seeing. So, the first question. Can you see Phanuel's Hall in this picture? Actually, the names changed. What did they change the name to in this picture? You're going to say it, it's going to say blank hall. You can go back to it because you're going to need to for the final questions anyway. So, here's something else I want to bring up to you. Here are the court records for the Boston Massacre. These British soldiers ended up on trial for murder. They were mostly found innocent due to self-defense. Let me show you the court records, and then we will continue on. On the guy with his sword raised, in the picture, there's a guy that has a sword in the air. That's what this one is. This is what he says. The prosecution called 15 witnesses to prove that Preston, the guy with the sword up, had ordered his men to shoot, but on cross-examination, their testimony appeared contradictory. The defense produced 23 witnesses who testified that soldiers were intimidated and provoked by the crowd, and much of the cross-examination by the defense was centered on who shouted the word fire. Were the soldiers actually ordered to fire, or was someone else saying it? Okay? He's found innocent. For the soldiers, As a result, the defense focused on the actions of the mob that threatened the soldiers, rather on who shouted fire. John Adams argued that if the soldiers were attacked by a motley rabble of saucy boys and mulattoes, Irish teagues, and outlandish jacktars, they could very well defend themselves. He made clear that the soldiers were endangered, and they had the right to fire in self-defense, and that at most they were guilty of manslaughter and not murder. An important circumstance in this trial was the second-hand testimony of Patrick Carr. Second-hand meaning he wasn't actually able to give it, he said this to someone else. He was a wounded victim of the incident who testified from his deathbed. His physician, his doctor, John Jeffries, presented his testimony in court. According to the physician, Carr admitted that the soldiers were provoked and fired in self-defense, and that he did not blame the soldier who shot and killed him. Ooh. The prosecution concentrated on showing that soldiers wanted revenge after many months of being abused and harassed by these townspeople. A witness testified that a British soldier had admitted to him that he would not miss an opportunity to fire on inhabitants. However, the prosecution's case was weak. On cross-examination, witnesses admitted that the crowd was throwing objects and provoking the soldiers to fire. So these last two questions, I want you to compare reality with what's going on in the picture. What's different in reality that's different on that picture? One for the colonists, one for the soldiers. All right. From what we just read from the trial, this was definitely a whole different case. Your question earlier from homework should also help you in this. All right. Well, I hope that. Oh, shoot. One last question. Why do you think this picture is so important to American independence? Kind of your opinion. I mean, there is a right or wrong to it, but for the most part, this is opinion-based. Alright? Alright, I will catch you guys on the flip side.